Okay. All right. So I've heard four extremely valuable things. And the first one we're going to talk about is putting FBA tiers to work for you instead of against you as a cost, right? So I especially like that one because I have recently developed a model that
Cool.
will automate that whole process.
I
So
love it.
I'm intimately familiar with it. So let's jump right into that one. So tell us about what that means to you and how you go about doing it.
Sure. So, for sellers that's selling an FBA, Amazon has different prices for their FBA fees depending on your product. Some of them are dependent on the product type, like if it's an aerosol or if it's apparel. Most things will fall into standard packaging or standard oversized. And what Amazon really likes is things that are kind of flat and small, like a book. That's where you kind of can get the most bang for your buck. As you get into bigger size tiers, like most, CPG products occur in, what you can do is you can amortize those fee costs by looking into selling bulk packs, for example. And what you really want to do is you want to find the biggest box within that size tier where you can stuff the most products in, because that allows you a high selling point, but it amortizes that FBA fee across all those sales. Amazon has a tool. It's an Amazon revenue generator tool that allows you to figure out what that is for a certain product. It's got a couple caveats in it. One is that what it doesn't allow you to do is it doesn't tell you where your margin is going to be better, right? It'll tell you what your margin is, but it won't tell you how to tweak it to improve it. Some other tips are when you're stuffing things into a box for Amazon, know that Amazon measures the outside of a box, but a box seller gives you the inside dimensions of a box. And so that box will be in practice, it will measure a 1/2 inch to 1 inch larger on Amazon. So those are, so don't get caught, measure your actual box size when you send something in. The other thing to know is that Amazon doesn't really change the physical size of the tiers, but it definitely changes the fees and sometimes what it prefers to weight preference on. So the calculator is based on weight and size. And historically, Amazon has changed the weighting from being more expensive for things that are particularly heavy or things that are particularly large. And so they're also introducing new programs and taking them out, like the Slalom Light program was just discontinued in August. And there are other changes that constantly happen. For example, last year, they experimented not only with a Q4 storage increase, but a Q4 FBA increase. Now, it was small compared to storage, but as I was talking to Jenny, one of my colleagues, it is head spinning to keep on top of this. So what we recommend is check in once a year with your agency, usually like around February. That's kind of when they decide to change their fee tiers, at least historically, and see what your margins are with these new changes that Amazon had implemented, and if you need to do anything to improve your margins. The other thing is keep an eye on what they're charging you. So sometimes Amazon will do spontaneous fee checks and they'll remeasure, and sometimes they'll be wrong. Their automatic tool will measure you wrong. And so if you find out that it's wrong and request a remeasure, you can actually get that money back that you've been overcharged. And so those are some of the ways that you can work with FBA fee tiers. The other thing that you want to keep an eye on is what are your competitors offering? So kind of like when we make FBA tiers work for you, it also means we've got to make your product work for the customer. And what does that mean? And so some things to know are that if you're trying to do a second to market approach and maybe you've got multiple items, you want to offer something that's very comparable. The per ounce or per unit calculations that Amazon has and displays in their little widgets that they show to customers, they're not accurate. They're often not accurate, or one person can be measured per unit, another person can be measured per ounce. So a customer doesn't really have a good feel for making an apples to apples comparison when products are different. So one way to kind of get around all that is to make your products as similar to the competitor as possible and then underprice it as a second to market strategy. Also, another thing to take in consideration when you're looking at margins is that your competitors may have not optimized their offering. We see unoptimized offerings for margin all the time. So don't necessarily, when you're trying to do a second to market strategy, run into the trap of offering something that is going to kill your margins. We take an approach of you want to grow on Amazon while you're making money. We want to grow you, exponentially, but with margins that meet your needs. And so we don't often recommend putting products in that are loss leaders, for example. So the other thing to know is that there are magic numbers. So customers tend to buy things between $25 and $75. For items that you can sell more than one at a time, if you want someone to try out your product, a $20 to $30 price point is great. If you want to give bulk buys for loyal customer, you can shift their prices all the way up to $70. But beyond that, they don't tend to buy, right? So if you have an offering for a bulk buy, and let's say it's a great deal, the unit price is small, but you want them to buy $150, those don't tend to perform well. Also, it turns out trial packs don't perform well either, but that's a whole new discussion that we can get into. The other thing to think about is that if you have a premium product where a single unit is high, let's say it's a $6 bag of chips, a $6 for one bag looks expensive, but people aren't really great at math. And so, 8 bags for $48 actually sounds better. It sounds a little cheaper because, it's almost $50, but you're getting 8 things than $6 for one item. And so you can kind of use a little bit of the psychology of the customer. You can appeal to their nature to buy in bulk and get a discount for their price. And all of these things will fit into your overall strategy to optimize margin and grow sales.